You've heard their name in stories, Sunday school classes, and from the pulpit. And now it's time to vote to see who is Poplar Springs' favorite Bible character. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the fourth episode of Bible Madness. After today, we have gone through 64 characters. 64, 2 weeks. That's probably more you're going to get through the entire year of talking about Bible characters. So, congratulations to you if you stuck with it. Just to give you some heads up on who made it through the last round, because I know you're just so anxious to hear who that was. Going to the next round out of bracket C was Abraham, Elizabeth, Matthew, Isaac, Mary Magdalene, Esther, Daniel, and John. So those are the ones who are all going to get to the next round. We are now going to move into bracket D, and we're calling this the David bracket. So here we go. David versus Cornelius. All right, so David is the number one seed. He should go pretty far in this bracket, but we all know about David. You can go look it up if look him up if you want to. He has a lot of stories attached to him. King David, obviously, man after God's own heart. You could look him up for David and Goliath, when he was a shepherd boy, when he played for Saul. Saul chased him down, trying to catch him. A lot of good stuff with David. I don't see him having any issues in the first round, but then you have to go up against Cornelius, who is the number 15 seed, number 15 seed here. All right, I'm checking my notes. 16 seed. And let's see here. This is Cornelius. So Cornelius, you can find him in the book of Acts. Not in there a lot, but he's the Roman centurion. He was the first Gentile to be converted to Christianity. So I think he has run-ins with Peter. I think it was Peter he had to go see. So, David versus Cornelius. I don't see this being a hard thing for David to get through. But, could surprise me. You did surprise me last round. Let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. I really thought I didn't think there'd be an upset, but I thought y'all would surprise me because you have the last couple times. But all the number one or upper seeds made it through. But this could be a big upset. We'll see. But David versus Cornelius. Tell me what you think. Deborah versus Nicodemus. All right, so we got some really interesting matchups coming through here with some of these characters, and some of them are well-known characters, and some of them you may not know. But chances for some big upsets coming through. This is not one of them, just because of who it is. But I think it's interesting that I think this character could go far in the 8th seed if they can get through David, if they get to sit around with David. But in the 8th seed, we've got Deborah. Deborah was one of the judges, and if you remember back to Barak, that was like the very first bracket we talked about. Old Testament judge, only female judge, and she's the one that helped explain to Barak that God said, "You're going to go take out this king who has all these chariots, but you will not get to kill the king. The death of the king is going to be credit's going to be given to a woman." And if you go back and read the story, it talks about how a woman is eventually the one who, not Deborah, but a woman's eventually the one that kills the king that Barak goes up against. But you've got the judge, Deborah, strong character, up against Nicodemus at the 9 seed. Now, Nicodemus, 9 seed, I don't say I don't agree with that. It should be much lower, but he's in there at the 9 seed. Those of you who don't know Nicodemus, look in John's Gospels where I have it written down for you guys. He was the one who, they said it comes up 3 times in the Bible. He was the church leader who visited Jesus at night, and his big thing, he wanted to have conversations about Jesus' teaching, more particularly being born again, where that all comes from. I think also his name comes up when they're prosecuting Jesus or saying something bad about Jesus, and he reminds them that everyone deserves to be investigated and kind of go through a judge or something like that. So Nicodemus is in there. He's a good character. There's some good stuff in it to read about him, but to be a 9 seed, I disagree with. But I don't think Deborah's going to have an issue. Normally the 8 and 9 seed is where you surprise me on them. Deborah should go through in the next round, but we'll see how that goes. Tell me what you think about those two. Noah versus Joseph. All right, so here is a cool little matchup for you to think about. You've got Noah coming in at the 5 seed. Okay, we all know Noah. Genesis, flood, ark, gopher wood, for those of you who know the joke from the movie. Never mind. All right, so he he's got a tough one, and it's just because I'll fight for this character because I love this character in the Bible for who he is. And if you got Noah at the 5 seed, but coming in the 12 seed, who I would have put him higher personally, is Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus. Now, if Mary's the number 1 seed, Joseph. Now, granted, I wouldn't put Joseph up in like the top 2 seed somewhere like that, but he should be around. He should be the 5th seed somewhere, and Noah could float somewhere else in it probably. But I like Joseph. Joseph's one of my favorite characters in the Bible. I enjoy a man who took care of Jesus, and it wasn't his biological son, but he knew the importance of Jesus and knew what the ridicule he was going to go through, knowing about what people would think about him and Mary, but he stuck around and still did a good job raising Jesus. So yeah, that's a tough one for you. I see an upset. Don't get me wrong. I really like Noah. I think Noah's a good character, but y'all can't let me down on this one. I'm just going to try to sway your vote. Let's see if we can get Joseph into the next round. Tell me what you think between Noah and Joseph. Don't let me down. Mark versus Abel. All right, so this character coming in at the 4 seed. This is one of those honestly, Joseph could have switched with him. Maybe not be that high. Maybe Noah 4 and then put Joseph in there. But coming in at the 4 seed is Mark, also known as John Mark. He's attributed for writing the Gospel of Mark. Biggest thing about Mark was he was one of the travelers who worked with Paul and Barnabas. Not a lot of stuff you can go and dig up on him. So I wouldn't have put him at the 4 seed, but being one of the Gospel writers is probably why he got bumped up so high, where I thought it should be. But he also said look for John Mark also if you're trying to figure those out. But you got Mark coming in at 4, and then coming in at 13 is Abel. Now, this is Cain's brother who got murdered, son of Adam and Eve. He was the shepherd of the son because Cain was the farmer and he was a shepherd. If you remember, they both gave offerings and Jesus preferred Abel's over Cain. That's what we say made Cain so angry. There's not really a reason listed, but that's what we all assume. But I don't see Mark having an issue unless you're just you think Abel got a bum deal in the whole situation and didn't really do anything wrong, deserves to go to the next round. But Mark could slide through. We'll see. But you got that 4 and 13 seed, Mark versus Abel. Tell me what you think about those guys, and we'll see who gets to the next round. Rahab versus Hagar. All right, so here we go. Checking out my notes. We've got a 6 versus 11 seed here. And the number 6 seed, I can tell you now, has some really good fans in Catherine and Nicole. We'll see if they jump in here and vote for them. Some people outside our class have been voting, so they could sway some of the votes in here. But coming in at the 6th seed, Rahab. Ask Catherine and Nicole about #Rahab Ministries. They'll fill you in on it if you really want to know their fun conversations they have about her. But Rahab from the book of Joshua, most view her as the prostitute, or some view her as the innkeeper, depending on which translation you read on, how you dig in. But she is the one that hid the 2 Israelite spies that went into Jericho to try to scout the city out beforehand. If she hadn't hid them and gotten them out, they wouldn't have gotten the information they needed to be able to bring the walls down. So go see what you think about Rahab. Like I said, some fans of Rahab out there, shouldn't have any issue getting through because Hagar is coming in at the 11th seed. And for those of you, what's interesting is we're getting a lot of characters that have so many ties with other characters that there's not a lot of explanation needed for them, because Hagar is the mother of Ishmael, who was the first son of Abraham, and she was the servant girl of Sarah. So go back and double check on what her and Ishmael were going through and see what you think. Like I said, I don't see Rahab having any issues. Rahab should go pretty deep if Nicole and Catherine get a hold of the tournament. But that's who we got, the 6-11 seed, Rahab versus Hagar. Go vote. Push them through the next round, whoever you like. Adam versus Bartholomew. All right, so if you saw the cue card before this one, you got number 3, Adam versus Bartholomew. I'm not going to sit here and just try to tell you need to vote for Bartholomew just because I'm pushing for, which is a really cool name. I want to call him Bart the entire time. But let's talk about Adam. Okay, this is not the Adam in my class. Okay, Adam, I just give you a shout out there, but this is not that Adam. Okay, this is Adam and Eve, Genesis. Okay, if you go back and look at the card that I just went through, you'll see my exact opinion of who Adam is. Okay, that's my opinion of them. Okay, there's so many things that you could just dig in deep and get your own opinion about. I'm not some of you think of who you want to blame, but let's be honest, it's Adam's fault. That's just my opinion, but it's Adam's fault. Okay, and for him to be in the 3 seed, I gotta have a conversation. Who came up with this bracket? The 3 seed? I don't think so. But Adam coming at 3 seed up against Bartholomew. He was one of the disciples of Jesus. Okay, so he's at the 14 seed. One interesting thing that I managed to find just digging around, trying to figure out Bartholomew and who he was after Jesus' ascension, he went towards India for all of his missionary stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that I managed to read up on talking about where he went. I don't think it's in a Bible per se, but yeah. So you have the disciple of Jesus, Bartholomew, coming at the 14 seed up against Adam in a 3 seed. If you're not a fan of Adam, you're not going to vote for him. So I'm going to call another upset here. I really want Joseph to get to the next round. I want that to be the tough upset that's going to happen. But I see this being an upset just because I can't see people voting for Adam. Y'all didn't really vote for Eve, but she was up against Mary Magdalene. But Adam getting to the next round might not happen. So that could be a pretty big upset. Let's see what you decide. Sarah versus Samson. All right, here we go. A 7 seed versus a 10 seed. This was a toss up to me just because it could be another upset, and I'm gonna call it as an upset, but it's a tough one. In the 7 seed, you've got Sarah. We talked about everyone attached to Sarah. It's Abraham's wife. That is the mother of Isaac. Eventually, she has Isaac at an older age. She laughed about it. We all got a good chuckle. Still had a kid. But eventually, Ishmael and Hagar get sent off because she doesn't want them around. Sarah has a lot of good stuff about her if you go and read up on it. But, for her to be the higher seed in this one makes it tough, and that's why I think it'd be a upset because she's coming in against the 10 seed. That's Samson. Now, we all know the story of Samson, and I've got my notes here. He was one of the last judge in the book of Judges before they start going to a monarchy. But we all know he had that super strength, the hair and all about the hair, which mine's trying to get mine brushed away. I need to today. But and we know that he eventually gets betrayed by Delilah. And there's a lot of just negative things about Samson, but eventually he comes through and knocks the building down, gets that last bit of strength. But I see Sarah having an issue in this round getting past Samson because Samson just there's kid stories that we are attached to it. And I told you the characters that have the best attachments for when we were kids and what we learned are normally the ones that we want to vote to get to the next round. So looking at this one, I'm going to call it an upset and say Samson's going to get through and beat Sarah and get into the next round. But we'll see. Moses versus Caleb. All right, here we go. So to finish this thing up, we have the 2 seed versus the 15 seed here. In the 2 seed, I've got Moses. Moses is probably going to be the most trouble for anybody that's a 1 seed he may come against, because if it keeps going, he's going to have to go through David and he's going to have to go through Paul. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see. But you have Moses, 10 Commandments, take the Israelites out of Egypt, parting in the Red Sea, tons and tons of stuff about Moses. So you could probably go and find some really interesting things about Moses to read on. And it's sad that he has to go up against the 15 seed in this one, which is Caleb. And Caleb is one of the 12 spies? 12 spies I got sent into Canaan by Moses to go and scout out the promised land. They call him as the zealous one. He was with Joshua. He was one of the ones who was saying we need everyone else was kind of afraid to go into the promised land. He's like, no, we need to believe in what God said, and we need to go take this promised land. Let's do this. I can imagine him being one of those guys on a football team in a football game, being the first one to come through the banner because he's just so jacked about doing whatever God needs him to do. So I don't, as happy of a guy as he was, I don't see him getting to the next round because it's Moses. So, God, Jesus, Moses. That's what most people go through when they go in order of talking about the Bible. So, Moses is in there. He should get to the next round. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matchups right there. That is 16 people that we have talked about, which now takes us to 64. So we have spent 2 weeks talking about 64 different characters in the Bible. So this is the last chance you get to get someone into the next round before we start going back around and talking about characters we have talked about before. So the voting should be up and ready to go for you. I'll keep this up till Saturday afternoon. give you a chance to vote on whoever you want to. Keep in mind that voting ends when it ends. Some folks are like, oh, I didn't get to vote this time. Listen, I got to cut it off sometime. I can't keep going. So Saturday, probably normally around 5 is where I'll cut it off. So make sure you get your votes in. And then on Sunday, we start talking about round 2. And we'll bring in 2 brackets together. Bracket A and bracket B will be talked about at the same time. And we'll knock it down from 64 to 32, and we'll go from 32 down to 16. And we'll start knocking it down to see who is the favorite Bible character for Poplar Springs. And it is open to anybody to vote. Go spread the word, get the word out there for everybody to vote for, because we'll probably have conversations wondering why we voted for who we voted for. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. And I'll just see you next time for Bible Madness 2020. Have a good one.